Welcome back to another lesson in R. Today we're going to talk about subsetting data frames. I briefly introduced data frames in the previous lessons, but let's get much deeper into this since this is the heart of R. Let's start another project if you haven't already done that. I'm just in an R script right now. So file new R script. I'm going to go ahead and use the mtcars as an example for this. I really haven't played with that data set in a while. So let's take a look at it first by doing view, and that's capital V, mtcars, and hit Command Enter on that, and it's going to open up the mtcars data inside of the viewer. Okay, we have a header file here with, a header with miles per gallon, cylinders, displacement, etc., etc. There's 11 different features or columns, and then there's a bunch of different rows. You can see down at the bottom here showing 1 through 18 of 32 entries. So there's 32 rows or observations and 11 total columns. And as you can see, there's nothing in our global environment. So let's make a copy of this mtcars. Let's close that out. Instead of viewing the cars, we're going to assign it to a data frame. We'll call it the cars data frame, and we'll say equals, basically assign mtcars. Command Enter, you see it comes over here. We have our 32 observations and 11 variables. 11 variables, features, columns, whatever you want to call it, they're all right there. Okay, let's programmatically do a couple things to this just to show you a couple functions. Let's figure out the names of the header. Let's figure out what the header names are. So let's just do names, mtcars. Command Enter, you see at the bottom, it gives me the name. Let's subset only the first 3 names. So let's do names, mtcars, but then we're going to open up open bracket, close bracket, and just do 1:3. That'll give us the first 3 only. So there's how you do that. What if I wanted the first, 3rd, and 5th one? Let's try that. Names, mtcars, and we're going to subset now. This is something you kind of have to get used to in R. Remember in the previous lesson, 1:3 is a sequence of numbers. It's going to return back a list or a vector, 1, 2, and 3. You can also return back a vector. Remember I said to concatenate or to create a vector of numbers, you can do C, like a column of numbers. So C inside of parentheses, we want, say, 1, 3, and 5. Let's do Command Enter on that, and we have miles per gallon, displacement, and drat. So the first one, miles per gallon, displacement, and drat. You can see that right here. So just remember, that's a column or a vector of numbers, a sequence of numbers. It's basically returning a vector, 1, 2, 3. This is a vector that's being put inside of these brackets, 1, 3, and 5. So that's how you do that. Now those are the, if you were looking at it like this, it looks like it's going across, but picture it as a vector going down like a column. It doesn't print them that way, but think of pretty much everything as a vector going downward. So that being said, let's say we wanted to just print off the entire data frame. Let's do mtcars. Let's do cars because that's what we saved it as. Command Enter, and you can see it printed the entire thing off. Well, that's a little much for my tiny little console area, so let's fix that. Let's just take, say, the first 5 rows. So let's do head of cars, and we don't have to subset. We're not subsetting this one. We're going to do head cars. Head is a function. If I hit comma tab, you can see my n value. N equals a single integer. I'm going to type in 5 there, and I'll get the first 5. There we go. So now you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's how you can subset with head. And let's do this a little bit differently without head. Let's do the first 5 rows or observations by subsetting using the bracket notation. So cars, and we're going to do open bracket, close bracket. Now, since cars is a data frame, you see over here, it's 32 observations of 11 variables. You can click on it. It's like a spreadsheet. It's not like a single vector where we subset it with just one value, like the names up here. We don't need a comma there. It's not like rows and columns. It's just the columns. So let's do cars, and let's say we wanted the first 5 rows, but we want all the columns. Well, because this is a data frame, think of it as rows, comma, columns. Let's say I want all 11 columns. If I want all 11 columns, you can do this and hit enter, and you get the same exact thing as the head cars 5. So we got the first 5 rows or observations of cars this way. We also got it this way. Now, a little shortcut, if you want to also include all of the columns or rows, you can do cars and open the subset 1 through 5, comma, and if you leave it blank, it'll do the same thing. Let me clear this so I can show you a little bit easier. Leave it blank, and you have the same thing. So the blank just means all of them. And that same thing goes for the rows. If I hit it again, you get all of that data. It's the same as if I didn't have anything in there, remember. Okay, so those are some cool little tips on subsetting data frames. So let's say we wanted the cars data frame, but we wanted just the first and 7th row. So we would do a concatenation of the first and the 7th row, or the 7th row, comma, let's say we only wanted, the 5th and 7th column, 5 and 7. So before the first comma, we have the rows that we're looking for, and then we have the columns we're looking for this way. Let's do Command Enter on that. And we just have 5 and 7. I was going to say that didn't make any sense. Okay, let's try this again. We have the two rows 1 and 7, and drat and q sequence. So 5 and 7, which should correspond with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is drat, and 7 q sequence, whatever that means. I don't know. Oh, what does that mean? Let's go down to our console and just type in the question mark and then the empty cars, because that's where we got the data from. Even though we're using cars, it's a copy of it. And you'll see it shows up on the right hand side. You can read all about what all that stuff means. So q sec equals quarter mile time. I did not know that. And this tells you a little bit about everything. That works with functions, data sets, cars, everything. A nice little feature to have built in with RStudio. Okay, let's see what else I can show you. Let's say you wanted everything but rows 1 and 7. In that case, let's do cars, and let's do everything but rows 1 and 7, like I said, and we only want the columns. There we go, comma. We want all the columns. First, let me show you 1 and 7 only. There we go, 1 and 7 only. There it is. The Mazda RX-4 and Duster 360. Remember those. Now let's say we wanted everything but those. We put a little negative sign here, and we just hit enter on that. And you see you get a big list, but you're not going to find the Mazda or the other one. So the Mazda and the Duster will not be in this list. Well, this is the WAG. It's different. But I think you guys understand the point. Same thing goes with the for the columns. If you want every column, let's look at these columns real quick. We don't want miles per gallon, say, right? So we'll just do a minus, and we'll create a vector that just has the first column in there. And remember, it's all on the right-hand side where the columns are. So after the comma, we want a vector of numbers that we don't want because we have that negative. So let's go ahead and hit enter on that. And we should not have miles per gallon on there. It's gone. Starts with cylinder. Learning how to manipulate subsets or manipulate data frames is going to be crucial for the rest of R. We're going to learn, though, a different way to subset in the next lesson that's going to be a little bit more user-friendly. And I think that from this point on, you're going to see them both. Practice with these, though. You must practice subset in data. So you have the negative and you have the include onlys. Remember, you can have anything inside of these. Get fancy with it. Do cars, open, close bracket, and let's not include a sequence of numbers we don't want the first through fourth row, and we want a column of vectors with just the 1, 5, and 7 in there. So again, just practice and play around with these, subsetting and doing the negative subset, I guess you can call that.